All right. Are we live? Yeah. It's doing this little countdown thing. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. Okay, here we go. We are live with the post match discussion here. So I'm going to start here. Let's start with some stats from the game. All right. So obviously the score is 1-0 to Arsenal. Calafiori scored in the 13th minute. Into the game, the stats were Manchester United 22 shots, Arsenal's 9. We had 7 shots on goal. Arsenal had 3. We had 62% possession, 476 passes, 82% pass accuracy. Arsenal had 19 fouls to our 10. They had 4 yellow cards to our 1. They had 2 offsides to our 1. They had 4 corners. We had 3 corners. Now, just looking at the stats, you would think, how did we not win the game? We had, what was it, 29 shots to their 12. I mean, more than double the shots they had. More than double the shots they had on target. More possession, more passes, better pass accuracy. Stayed out of foul trouble. Stayed out of yellow card trouble for the most part compared to them. About even on corners, 4-3, right? So, it's hard to come at this and say, all right, like we played horribly because the stats say otherwise. The stats say we actually played pretty darn well. Um, but when you kind of give it the old eye test, as people say, right, it tells a different story. So again, I'm seeing these stats. I'm thinking, how do we lose the game? But then I think back to the game that we just watched, and I see that first off, you know, whenever we were getting the ball down the wing, we had nobody in the box to cross to. I don't know if that's because Shesko was on the bench and we had Mount as our false 9 or whatever. Um, but there was just no one in the box, right? And Boomer would get it wide, Cunha would get it wide, or Della would get it wide, or Dorgu would get it wide, cross it, and there's 4 or 5 Arsenal players in the box ready to defend the cross. That kept happening, and I don't know why. When I saw it, I thought, okay, maybe it was just kind of a fluke. Maybe people are just a little bit nervous. First game of the season. If you ever played, you've been there, right? A little bit nervous, not sure. You get new players around you. But I mean, you're supposed to work all that out in the preseason. But again, like I said, first game, pressure's a little different. Maybe your brain's not fully switched on. You're a little bit rusty, whatever, right? But I kept seeing it happen. Kept seeing it happen. And my first thought was, we can't keep playing like this because it's obvious to an amateur like myself what the problem what part of the problem is not getting bodies in the box. So then my thought was, okay, are we sitting too deep? No, we're not really sitting deep. Are we getting too many men behind the ball? And that's where I think we're messing up. I think we're getting too many men behind the ball. Um, and then we were trying to get forward, we didn't have anybody in the box. And yes, you might say, oh, we had 22 shots and 7 shots on target, but a fair number of those shots were kind of rolled at the goalkeeper, right? Like I know Dorgu had one that hit the post, and Buma had one that Raya saved, pretty well. Um, those are the only 2 that I remember off the top of my head. I'm sure there might be 1 or 2 more, but apart from that, a number were just kind of rolled at the goalkeeper. They weren't really threatening, so got to take better chances when we get them. But I think we could have had even more chances, even more solid chances, had we had bodies in the box. And again, I think maybe that starts with not having so many men behind the ball. Maybe that was a tactical setup because, and this brings me to my next point, our starting 11 isn't quite who I would have picked. I would have had Ahmad starting over Dallo. Um, I probably would have had Shaw did well, but I probably would have had Heaven back there instead. Um, I know we're trying to work with both Mbumo and Cunha at the 10s. I just feel like that is Bruno's role. So I don't know if we can play with both of them, or maybe we change to like a 3-4-3, or I don't know, something different, some different formation. Because I don't like Bruno in that eight role. Um, so I think either Mbumo or Cunha will need to take a back seat. Earlier in my live stream for the match, I was saying that maybe Mbumo needed to be subbed. Um, but obviously, as the game wore on, he got better. Cunha did well, was pushing, driving forward for the most part. So I really don't know who you would drop for Bruno unless you say, Bruno, go play as a false nine. But if Bruno plays as a false nine and we put like Mount or Mainu or someone else in the midfield, where does Sheshko go? And we spent what, 100 million US dollars on him, so he's not gonna ride the bench. So Sheshko will be up front for my starting 11. Ahmad would take over for Dallo, the right wing back. And we got to figure out this Mbumo, Cunha, Bruno situation. Because there's a load of talent between the three of them. A load of talent. It's just how do you get them? How do you get the best out of all three of them? And again, I think either Mbumo or Cunha may need to take a back seat to Bruno, or maybe I don't know. Like, can Cunha play in the midfield? Is that an option? Do we flip? As you see, I've got on this side of the screen here, Bruno and Cunha, obviously in the starting 11 in the lineup there playing today. Um, do we switch Bruno and Cunha? Can he play there? I don't know. Um, if he can, that would be, I would say, problem solved. Cunha in the midfield next to Casemiro or Menu. Um, Bruno and Bumo at 10s. Sheshko up front, sorted. But yeah, we got to figure that out because, Mount presses well, high energy. He's not our false nine. I wouldn't think. Um, I think he needs to either be an 8 or a 10. Um, so yeah, yeah, we've got a lot of folks who could play there because I mean Xerxes on the bench, right? But I mean Xerxes a good 10 too, if you ask me. Or he plays false nine, but then again you got Shishka, right? So it's like we got to sort it out. We got to figure it out somehow. Um, and I think that's gonna be a real big headache for Amram. Hopefully he tinkers with it and we see. But Bruno as an 8 is a no go for me because Bruno and Casemiro were just too slow to kind of track Arsenal's midfield. Um, and Bruno made some risky passes back there, which I mean, if he was in his 10 position, I'd be like, all right, fine. But it's like, bro, you're an 8 and you're making that pass along the back line or just in front of the back line. Like, I wouldn't do that. And again, I know I'm an armchair 8 or 10 here, whatever, armchair player here. But yeah, yeah. I just he doesn't need to be there. That was a little bit worrying. Um, so I don't know how you solve that. I don't know how you solve that. Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I don't know. The only thing I can think is Cunha can play 8. I don't know if he can, but let's just say he can. Bruno's at 10. Shesko up front, and then I think you got some real magic there. Um, so anyway, um, Ugarte, Ugarte needs to go. He will be combative, which is great, but he doesn't look forward enough to me. He's not quite fast enough to me. He's not quite big enough or strong enough. And he makes some silly mistakes in some bad areas. Like today, he almost cost us a goal with that pass right to the Arsenal forward. So that's worrying. I don't see him suddenly getting any better. So I know I tweeted it out, but I would say, hey, look, Brighton, um, We'll give you cash plus Ugarte for Baleba. I know that Brighton said, "Oh, he's not for sale at all this season," but hey, everyone's for sale, right? Depends on how much you offer. So if we could do that, Ugarte plus cash for Baleba, I'd be in for it. Um, Strengthen our midfield. Um, what else? What else? What else did I have on the goal? So I think the blame is shared there. I think that yes, Bayender could have been stronger. He did get a glove to it, I believe I saw, but I think he was getting fouled too. If I'm being honest, I think he was getting fouled. I mean, especially with the calls that I've seen go in favor of keepers for like the slightest contact. I think that was a missed one by the ref, based off of what I've seen in past matches, um, and whatnot. So some people are going to jump on Bayender. I don't think he's totally at fault for that. I think otherwise he had a pretty good game. He had some pretty good distribution. Um, there was a couple times where he could have hit a pass. And he thought about it, but I think his confidence isn't quite there yet. Like there was one time he could have played a kind of almost like a through ball kind of to Dorgu, could have set us off on a counterattack. Um, but he didn't. And so maybe that just means he needs a little more time between the sticks to kind of get that confidence and to play those passes to spring us a bit. Um, and again, just work on being strong, right, in the goal. Even if you think that there should be a foul called, still at least keep the ball out of the net. And then afterwards, maybe you plead to the ref, roll around a bit, do what you gotta do to get the call called. But um, yeah, yeah. I mean, I think our back line was solid as well. Um, didn't really see much wrong. Again, first game, a few jitters, so I'm being a little bit, you know, being a little bit kind right now. Um, so yeah, in terms of the starting 11, like I said, I know I'm a switched in there for Dowload, because I was going to keep up with all the changes in the subs, but that's just too much work to do. So from now, I'll probably just be leaving up the starting 11. Um, but yeah, so I don't know if maybe there's an injury concern or a fitness concern, but definitely I might need to start over Dallo. Shaw, like I said, interchangeable heaven. Um, I thought Zillet and Euro were great. Dorgu was great. You know, Casemiro was Casemiro. He added that bit of steel in there, that bit of calm at times. Plays some good 3 passes. Obviously, he's not sprinting back to catch anybody, but I think he's still valuable to us. Um, and yeah, we just gotta figure out that Bruno and Bumo Cunha situation. How to make them all work, or who to drop. But Bruno needs to be in a 10 spot, like period. No ifs, ands, or buts. No more experimenting. Bruno is a 10, maybe a false 9, but we got Sheshko, so he should be our main guy up front. Um, and I was hoping he'd get a more clear cut chance today. He didn't quite get a clear cut chance. I wish he came on a little sooner, but it's his debut, so you gotta protect him a little bit, right? You can't throw him on there too long, and he has a crap game, and suddenly the pressure's already on, and it just gets off to a bad start. So I don't blame Amram for holding him back for a little bit. Um, but yeah, we'll see what happens in the next game. Who do we have next? Let's see. Let's go. Let's pull up the schedule. Next game is next Sunday, same time against Fulham. Um, has Fulham played today? Okay, they had a draw. Who did they draw? Fulham drew with Brighton yesterday. Okay. Okay. Yeah. All right. Just looking at the schedule there. Yeah. So we've got Fulham next. I think we should do better there. I think we should come away with a win. And then we've got Grimsby Town 3 days later. I I don't know if I'd rotate for that one. I think I want to keep, and I know I'm getting way too ahead of myself right now, but just because I'm looking at it, I would definitely want to keep the starting 11 together to build some rhythm. Um, then they've got Burnley. Maybe I would swap a player or two for Burnley. But then we got City and then Chelsea. Like, who the hell put the schedule together? I don't know. Like, it's someone who hates Manchester United. And Arsenal, City, and Chelsea all within the first, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games of the entire season, not just Premier League season. If you count Premier League, it's Arsenal, City, and Chelsea in the first 4 games. So, yeah, someone doesn't like us. Anyway, I think I have rambled enough. Didn't even have comments open. Yeah, I don't think anybody commented. Anyway, I will see you guys on the next one. If there's any big news, I'll probably come on and do something about it. Do something about it. What am I saying? Do something for it. Do something about that breaking news. Um, but otherwise, I'll probably see you for the Fulham match. So until then, peace and stay united.